can ask questions, teachers can ask questions, anybody can ask questions. I'll go ahead and start people off. What is your favorite thing about working in, I guess, game and film industry? So, go for it.
Can I start? The thing I like about the games industry, especially what I do, which is the cinematics. So for those who don't know what cinematics are in games, it's the CG movies or real-time rendered movies in game. It's a combination of a ton of skills that my career path has been very dramatic. And so it's a job that has complemented the fact that I worked in a lot of different creative fields, music and film and games all together. I think it allows people to be expressive toward the audience and interact with them because it's an interactive medium, which is pretty exciting. It's also a bit of a Wild West medium. So you can forge your own path, come up with your own processes, and make up new ways of doing things, which I think is pretty great. The film industry is awesome too, but it's very standardized at a certain point, and games are less like that. So I think that's really fun. There's always new problems to solve. Yeah. What about you?
I'd say for me, it's probably the storytelling and the equipment used, because I feel like in video stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I'm at the fridge. Back on.
Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. The thing that I like about working in the video industry is the storytelling and troubleshooting and the equipment used, because I feel like no matter what video job you're aiming for or whatever video job you get, it doesn't really matter if, I mean it matters, but like ultimately you can learn these things. Like it doesn't really matter if you're good with the camera or good at editing, because that means nothing if you don't have the ability to storytell. All you have is just a bunch of information with no place to put if you don't have that ability to storytell. So really I feel like if someone's going to hire you to make video, yes, technically they're hiring you to record and edit and such, but really they're paying for your ability to storytell and troubleshoot in the moment, because at every shoot there's going to be something wrong and you're going to have to troubleshoot and figure it out. Every time you edit, something's going to go wrong and you just got to be able to bounce back and keep doing that. And yeah, so those are probably the most stressful things, but also the things I love most. And then the equipment, it's just crazy how deep into equipment you can get, and then you're never done. You get a new camera, it's no longer good because you learned about the next one. So yeah, that's what I like about video.
Any other questions? I realize we lost a pretty big section. So.
Well, and I want to say, because I know there's a problem tonight for one of the big high schools that one of my students were in, and there was a whole swath of people that are taking a ferry home.
Got it.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Themselves would be. So I just want you to know the grandparents and all that stuff. There's some ferry riders.
All right. Let's go to you and then. Okay.
Do you have any particular favorite projects you've worked on?
Yeah, I have a few. For a while I had a production company that made music videos for a bunch of bands, and there's one in particular that I'm pretty proud of for a band called Under Oath, a metal band. We shot underwater for it, and it was really hard. And I tend to favor projects that ended up being kind of painful for some reason. I think it's self-destructive tendencies maybe. But I'm pretty proud of that one because it just seemed kind of insurmountable at first, and we figured out how to pull off some things in a pretty cool way for no budget and no time. Games-wise, I'm really proud of the stuff that we're doing on Destiny right now. Actually, something comes out in like 3 weeks that I'm super proud of, so if you Google some Destiny, you'll see that soon. What's that? Yeah. And then my first job in the industry was in the games industry, that is, was at Naughty Dog. So I worked on a game called Uncharted 4. I was the lead editor on that one. And that was also really hard, but I'm super proud of that game. It's a really good game. So yeah, that's me.
One of, I guess, my favorite project, probably I have two favorite projects. One is for school, one is for work. And the one for school is the teacher was like, oh, go off and make a video of whatever you want, walk around your neighborhood or something. And so I took that as I should generate a bunch of money through scholarships and fly to Nome, Alaska, and do a mini documentary on traditional facial tattoos and with indigenous women. And that that put me in like 7 film festivals, and that was insane to just travel and go to each film festival, and then you show up and they're like, oh, we're gonna pay you, and you're like, what? And then like the prizes can be like $50K, and you're like, it's crazy. So
We're working out to that.
so yeah, that's just the potential that film had was awesome, and it was my first documentary on anything. And yeah, and then my second one was more of a modeling thing for the LGBTQ community. I focused on trans men and women, and I would focus on trans euphoria, which is like, if you, for my particular prompt, it was for top surgery and how that affected their self-esteem and boosted their self-image. And that often led to being shirtless downtown Olympia and getting recorded, and then having it edited and shown to a film festival, shown to a bunch of students. And I held like a mini viewing at my tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and 30 people showed up, and we're all just like having a blast, and that was just crazy. So it's weird to think about. And yeah, those are my 2 favorite projects. So.
What kind of like education did you go through to get to where you're at? And like, is there anything that you've learned while working?
Mine's complicated. I feel like it's kind of a useful thing to hear, though. Oh, by the way, something I wanted to clarify earlier. Feedback. We know that you're in high school. I want you to know that what I made in high school is significantly worse than anything y'all made. So when you're getting feedback, I just hope you know it's in the vein of potential for future and trying to inspire you to keep making stuff because you're doing really cool stuff. Not to discourage you, because clearly you had time constraints and you're just starting out. That said, I got an education degree for free in Florida. They did a like state school scholarship if you got straight A's in high school. So I was in my band, I was touring, playing guitar, and I didn't want to go to school really, but I knew I needed a degree. So I was taking online classes, and at that time it was quite a while ago. So I was submitting tests from free internet at Panera Breads, not knowing what I would do with that degree. I ended up using a lot of it. I learned a lot about how to educate young people especially, and I was doing a lot of ESL, English as a second language education. So that was really helpful for me, I think, especially as a like leadership training, which I didn't realize at the time. But that music career that I had, which was barely scraping by financially, led to me working at a recording studio in Atlanta, which I ended up managing. And while there, I met a bunch of bands and studios, or rather record labels, and started making music videos for them. I had been doing film the entire time, but it was all VHS, punk rock. I was editing between 2 VCRs in high school. I didn't have nonlinear editing at all. Yeah, it was a little while ago. So the thing that I'm kind of carving toward is I got terrified that my career was going to completely freeze and fail a bunch of times. And that's something no one told me would happen in high school, but it's totally true. Like, you make a bunch of great stuff, you learn a bunch of lessons, you find a window and you jump through it as fast as you can, and they change constantly. I think that's the thing to encourage with that path. And the same thing happened to me. I ended up in film because I was in music, and then I ended up in games because I was in film, but I didn't know I would do that in high school, even though I wanted to work in games. That was one of my first things that I had an ambition for. I just didn't think it was possible. But the culmination of all those skills eventually led to a place where they were really useful in this job. So I think, as scary as that might sound, the kind of creative path that you carve, as long as you're making things you care about, and you're really paying attention and giving yourself feedback or finding feedback from other people and growing, you'll find opportunities that might not have been the ones that you set out for, and the trick is to jump on them and kind of know what you're going for.